Hello fellow simmers and welcome back to Beamon Reviews, a dreadful overpriced DLC. This is the new Digital Traction Class 122 Bubble Car DLC for Train Simulator Classic, and I'm going to show you guys just how bad it really is, and that obviously is a really good set of comments for a start of a video. This is priced at £15 or £14.99 if you want to obviously have an accurate sum of how much this pack actually costs. And to be honest, I've reviewed some bad DLC in my time, okay, and this is definitely up there. Some of the stuff that I've reviewed I haven't even made public because it was so bad, but as nobody really knows much about the Class 122 Bubble Car DLC that has been released, and probably for a good reason, we're going to look at it and review it and show it off to you guys. Now, this is something that again, I was quite excited for because it's another step into the direction of heritage diesel in Train Simulator, which is something that we have a massive lack of. Obviously, I'm happy to see that Digital Traction are taking that step to bring us more heritage traction into Train Simulator, but at the moment, with the LMS 10,000 and this, they seem to be doing a pretty bad job of it, and I'll explain why as we get more into the review. So this was a thing I was following for quite some time. It's been in production for a good few months, and there was a few comments towards the model that were made stating that it's not quite right, that there's bits and pieces that are wrong on it, and that the whole entire shape of the model is completely wrong, which it still is. So I've plonked down all of the variants you get with the pack, including the Class 132, which is basically a parcels variant of the Class 122 with a trailer car. So we're going to be having a look at all the liveries that come with the pack, and obviously the sounds and how it drives. I don't really want to spend too long on this because if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, it's not something that I'll drive regularly, if that at all. So after this video, I probably will not use this at all, and that is no joke, because there's just nothing that appeals. It's just not appealing. It just really isn't appealing because of how bad the quality is of this. So let's get into this and have a look round it. So we've got the standard BR Green liveries first, which we're going to have a look at. So we've got the BR Green with Cat's Whiskers variant of the Class 122. And you can see here already we've got problems with this model. We can see that it is far too rounded on the front here. The marker lights are not even facing straight when they should be. It looks more like somebody who has basically crossed their eyes backwards, and you're getting this kind of shape here, which is just, it's just not right, is it really? The buffer texturing is very Kuju, it's very 2007. We can see the pixelated alpha layers on there, which is not the best in the world. The buffer beam itself, though, the weathering on that, to be honest with you, is a much better texture than the actual buffer heads. So fair play to them there. They've actually done relatively okay on the texturing front on the buffer beam, so that is a positive. And we also have this really strange, odd shine on the vac hoses there, which basically looks like plastic pipes attached to the buffer beam there, which, quite frankly, looks a bit shit. But there we go. We've got some, I believe these are multi-work cables or of some kind. I believe this is obviously, these are plugged in to obviously allow the units to work in multi. I believe that is what they are for. But to be fair, as I say, again, this texturing is actually better than the buffers and the vac hoses. So fair play to them there. They've actually done quite well on that. So it is a bit of an oddball, this one already. So we can see a sort of a jumbled mess of different texture types, which is a bit odd. to say the least. We've got some decent bogey details. To be fair, the texturing on these are not terrible. We've got some weathering there. We can see, it looks a bit, nice and worn, which it would be. We've got the footsteps, and we've even got the speedometer or speedo cable, but it doesn't have any sort of writing or anything on it. But at least it's there. It's looking all right. It's looking right. We've got the leaf springs there as well, which are looking well modelled. They're not too bad. Look, they're even 3D as well, which is really nice to see. As I say, the texturing on the bogey frames are not terrible, but again, it's not the best I've seen, but it is, it is decent enough. We've got the rivets there on top of the frames, which is looking quite smart. And we've got all of the underframe detail down here as well. I mean, to be fair, the alphas could be turned down slightly under here, but to be honest, it's not terrible. You could look at this and think, yep, this is a 122's engine. We can see it modelled nicely there with all the scrapes and scratches. So, it's not looking terrible, is it? It's okay. You've got the detail there, which is nice to see. Yep, we've got all the digital pictures. As I say, the alpha channels do need turning down, but to be fair, the detail is there, so fair play to Digital Traction on that. So they haven't done too bad on that. We've got the exhaust pipes which head straight up instead of sideways. So that is one of the differences between the 122 and the 121 DMU. You've got basically straight pipes that are straight up instead of like angled to a side. We also have the destination blinds there, which are nicely represented. And you've got a roof texture as well. I'm going to show you quickly the roof texture, which, to be fair, is not too bad. I quite like it. I like this sort of scuffed look. It's not looking terrible. It's really, really nicely done. You see, why can't textures like this be implemented on, say, the buffers or the vacuum hoses? If they can perfect textures like this on the roof, why have we not got that implemented on something like this? It is questionable to say the least. But yeah, in the means of the model itself, it is far too round. It still is too round, regardless of the comments that were stated on the posts stating how the model doesn't look quite right and it looks too rounded. It appears that they have not listened to the feedback, and it is still virtually exactly the same as the teaser photos. So there's not really much difference there on that front. I believe there was something wrong with the door, which they may have fixed now, but I can't exactly remember what it was. To be honest, I've actually lost. I'm lost for words. I've forgotten what it was, but I haven't spotted it. So obviously, it was not too much of a big issue. But obviously, as I say, the model itself is definitely not quite right. It's too rounded. But as I say, nevertheless, it is nice to have somebody who's attempted to make a new DMU for the game. But unfortunately, this just does not, it does not reach to current day expectations. It just doesn't. Another thing that this pack does have, which is a little bit of a letdown, is it has an RWP file still. So even regardless of my last review video on the LMS 10,000, Digital Traction are still persisting on using the Railworks Package Manager install method, which is SO 2013. Nobody really uses RWP files anymore to install things. The only way, the way I did it was just extracted the RWP file to the desktop and then copied and pasted the assets and content folder over to install it. And yeah, that's basically how I installed it. But if you're to install it like a normal person, then it will take forever, because it takes about a year to refresh the Railworks Package Manager. So you're going to be sat there for like well over an hour until you can actually install this thing properly, which is again a downfall. It would be nice just to have a proper installer.exe file to install this, but evidently that's not something that Digital Traction are doing right now. Obviously, in certain angles, this thing doesn't look too bad. So if you look at it straight on, you can't really notice the model defects. But obviously, it's as you look around it to the side, you can really see on the on the side, when you look at it from the side, it just looks wrong. I'll even show up a few of the photos that are on the Digital Traction website, and you can just see how rounded it really is, and it's just not right. And obviously, if I put a photo up of a real Class 122, you can see that it just is not as rounded as this. It's just it's too rounded. It's just not the perfect representation. It just isn't. So what we're going to do now quickly before we look into the other liveries is I'm just going to quickly bring up the manual. And here is the manual here. So we've got the Digital Traction Class 122 bubble car manual. So presentation for the manual is not terrible. I said this last time for the LMS 10,000. So we've got a little description here telling us a little bit about the units. So it says, by the mid-1950s, increasing competition from road vehicles continued to reduce passenger numbers on many rural and branch railway services. Lightweight diesel units offered the railways a reliable, economical alternative to steam traction on low-density routes. The Class 122, introduced in 1958, was designed specifically to meet this requirement by providing a self-contained single-unit vehicle capable of operating efficiently on lightly used lines, without the need for a locomotive or additional crew. Drawing on proven technology from the road transport sector, the Class 122 employed compact underfloor diesel engines, similar in principle to those used in contemporary buses. I can't read all this. It's quite a long-winded amount of information. But obviously, if you want to pause your screens, guys, you can obviously look at this and you can read it. I'm not going to go through all this because it is a bit of a mouthful to go through, but it's nice to see that they've actually included all this detail, because it tells you a little bit about the units and obviously what they're all about. So again, this is a good point. This is a plus point to the pack. So even though the DLC is bad, we do have some pros to this. There is a small amount of pros, which is good. At least you have your pros. If it was all cons, then you'll be in serious trouble. So the design and specification, we have all of the information about the design and specification of the multiple units. So we've got the power type as diesel mechanical. We've got engine 1, which is BUT, AC or Leyland, which is an underfloor engine. Transmission is mechanical, and we've got a unit weight of approximately 30 to 32 tons. Vehicle length is 64 feet, 6 inches over the buffers. The build date was 1958. The maximum speed is 70 miles per hour, and the multiple working is compatible with the Class 166, 117, 118 era units, blue square system. Passenger capacity is approximately 65 seats, depending on the internal layout. There you go. Fuel capacity is approximately 300 gallons. Construction, steel-bodied with driving cab at one end and guard luggage space incorporated as required. The total built was 20 driving motors and 10 driving trailers. Preservation, multiple examples preserved and operational on heritage railways. I think there's only a couple actually. There's not too many, in all honesty, but we do have a couple of them. Features, wobbly speedo. Okay, now that is pretty cool. We will have a look at that as we go along. I didn't actually see that when I had a test drive of it. Bubble car plus trailer car and parcels variants. Yep, we've seen that. Custom particle effects, changeable destination blind, automatic driver changeover, lighting and weather effects, passengers, quick drive, driver enabled, 2 scenarios for the Falmouth and Riviera and 50s. That's alright then, because we've actually got those routes. Passenger views, but they haven't actually, I've just realised they haven't actually told us the requirements for the scenarios in this. So whether it has requirements or not, I do not know. Maybe it just uses the default stock out of the Falmouth and Riviera in the 50s, who knows. But yeah, stock included, Class 122 bubble car in 4 liveries, a BR Early Green, Late Green, BR Blue and Regional Railways. Class 131 parcel unit in 2 liveries, Late Green and BR Blue, so that's the parcels version of the 122 basically. And then you've got the class of 122 trailers, which is obviously, provided for routes for extra load factors. And yeah, there's some more pictures of the 122 there. It tells us information about driving the bubble car. Obviously placing the reverser into the forward position, charge the vacuum pipe to... Return the valves to hold position to maintain the vacuum. Select first gear using the gear selector. Fully release the brakes by moving the brake handle completely to release position and leaving it there. Apply full power with the power controller and allow the unit to accelerate. Okay, so you just basically put it into first gear and then just wang the throttle open, do you? That's exactly what you do, isn't it? No, that's technically not how to drive the unit, but there you go. But you can do that if you really want to. Changing gear changes on the class 122 must be made manually and the correct speeds to avoid stress on the transmission. Okay, so is there physics on the stress of the transmission? That'll be interesting to find out. Approximately 15 miles per hour, return the power controller to idle to allow the engine to settle. Second gear, so you select second gear, pause for 2 seconds, then reapply full power. Using the tables for guidelines. Once the desired speed is reached, maximum permissible speed is 70 miles per hour. Reduce the power controller as required. Important when coasting. With the power controller in idle, the unit must be in fourth gear to prevent the gearbox damage. Now that is true. Okay, so they've got that bit right. Coasting in fourth gear is correct, otherwise, and it prevents obviously the gearbox damage. Working on gradients. If full power cannot be maintained speed on an uphill gradient, a downshift will be required when operating in fourth gear. Change down if the speed falls below 40 miles per hour. To change down, move the power controller to idle. Brilliant. Immediately select the next lower gear. Pause for 2 seconds and then reapply the power. And that is correct. That is good. Downshift speeds for remaining gears correspond with the speed changes listed in the gear table above. Stopping the unit. Return to full power to controller to idle. Ensure the gearbox in fourth gear during coasting. Good. Apply the brakes by moving the brake valve. So it's good that they've shown us how to drive the thing. They've given us information on how to drive it, which is good. This is good stuff. When the desired level of braking is reached, return the valve to maintain the vacuum. As the unit comes to a stand, select neutral just before the train stops. Okay, yes. Yeah, we've got the horn there as well. Other notes, lights can be turned off with Control L. Destination blinds can be worked with the interior control by pressing P or Alt P. Scenarios. 2 scenarios are provided. Okay, they're going to show the requirements now. So there's Falmouth branch. Okay, yeah, so they haven't got requirements. And it also doesn't have installation instructions. However, we do have a README, so we should have a look at the README document. Here we go. So, okay, so they've learned, sort of. Installation. Install via installer provided. Please follow on-screen instructions. Please see our website how to install. Sorry? Install via installer provided. But they've provided an RWP file. There is no installer. So how can you follow the on-screen instructions if there is no installer provided and you're just using the RWP file? Okay, brilliant. So it's showing a version history as well. You've got version 1, which is the initial release. Version 1.1, modifications to the engine RPM, fair enough. Version 1.11, blimey, that's gone up quick. Change order of... that's a spell error. Operation for blind set function to wait 1 second before settings. Okay. Models are not to be redistributed yet, obviously. So yeah, so it still doesn't tell us how to actually install the pack, which is, again, another problem. You're paying £15 for this. If you're a newcomer to Train Simulator and you don't really know how to install DLC, you would have no clue on how to install this pack. Literally no clue. It just comes with an RWP and a couple of manuals which don't tell you jack shit about installing stuff. So, this is, again, another issue with this. And I just think that it's ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous. I cannot stress enough. I'm really disappointed with it. Obviously, I only just bought this about an hour ago. I've had a brief test with it, and I was just shocked at just how like it's just. You'll see as we go along. You'll see as we go along. So let's head back in the game, and we'll get we'll get through all the liveries next. Let's have a look through the liveries. So I'm going to be driving this one, by the way, guys. I'll be driving the Cat's Whiskers version along the route, and this is the Golden Age Developments North Somerset route, which is actually a really nice route. So the next livery we're going to come across is this monstrosity, which is the BR Green with small yellow warning panel livery, or as I like to call it, the extended yellow warning panel livery. So as you can see, just by looking at this, that this is a completely wrong representation for the BR Green's small yellow warning panel livery. It literally looks like somebody has brought up Train's paint shed and decided to make a livery from that on the old Train's Railroad Simulator 2004. So yeah, this is just a really badly implemented and poor attempt on the yellow panel livery. It just is not right. I will bring photos up of the actual yellow panel livery for the Class 122. Obviously, this is a preserved one, and I understand that, but I will bring up also the models of Dapol's, model as well. And yeah, you can just see, just how wrong that yellow panel really is. Yeah, it's just completely the wrong livery. The yellow panel sticks out far too much on the sides, and it should be a lot more inwards. In fact, I believe it should meet within the dip of the white stripe above the cab there, where it was just under the cab windows, which I think even the white stripe is slightly wrong as well. It shouldn't go down like that as much as it does. So yeah, it's just not good, really, is it? So that is the poor excuse of a half yellow warning panel livery there. But it's, what's interesting about this as well is the green is slightly darker to the Cat's Whiskers version, which I don't really understand why that is. I was always like under the interpretation that the green was, the same shade on both variants of Cat's Whiskers and half yellow warning panel version, but perhaps it isn't. Perhaps I'm wrong about that. But yeah, so it's got a slight difference on the green as well. We've also got a slight difference in the livery as well, in the sense that we've got sort of a white sort of cab roof, as it were, and then the rest of the roof is sort of grey, which I have noticed that is actually a thing on some units. So yeah, that's an interesting one. It's quite a nicer variant actually. I quite like that. It's different. So fair play on that. But yeah, the overall model itself is the body is completely wrong. It's just far too rounded. But the underframe is done very nicely. I think if they had just rebuilt the body and just redone it, it would look a lot better. And just made sure that the textures were okay as well in places. But you can just see as well with the roof how like diagonal it is down there, and how it just does not look right. I mean, even that front should not dip down like that diagonally, just so like sudden. It should be more, again, rounded. It's like the areas that should be rounded are not rounded enough, and the areas that shouldn't be rounded are far too rounded. So it's kind of like backwards in that kind of regard. But yeah, and this is, this is 15 quid. You're paying 15 quid for this. And it's to this, there is defects on the model. It's just... I don't know what to say about it. It's just not worth the money. It really isn't. This just really is not worth the money. And it's not just that, but it's the sounds and stuff as well. As I say... We will get on to that, but yeah, here we come up to the BR Blue livery, which, to be fair, it's not terrible. The shade of blue looks okay. We've got the really, really bright blue squares there, which look a bit too bright, if anything. I think they should be toned down slightly. They shouldn't be that bright. Maybe add a bit of weathering effects to the decals will make it look a little bit better. But we've got the cab roof here with all of the scuff marks. Again, the cab roof is probably one of the best bits about this model, to be fair. So yeah, that's looking okay, not too bad. So that is the BR Blue livery in its form, in all its glory. But one of the things I'm going to do before we lead on to the Class 132 parcels units, we're going to have a look at the quality of the British Railways crest, because I actually haven't looked at that. Which, to be fair, is not terrible. That's looking okay. It's not pixelated or anything. We can read it nice and clear, which is good to see. So the BR logo is done very well, as is the BR emblem as well. So to be fair, the texturing on all of the decals is not terrible. That you can read it. The numbering is completely off. I don't think that this numbering is correct. This looks like the typical digital traction font that they use for practically everything that they release, and yeah, it's just not the correct font for the class at 122. Yeah, it does look a little bit weird. I mean, the spacing on the numbers as well is far too spaced out. Like, they should be a lot more closer together. That's just wrong. But yeah, anyway, over to the class 132 now, which is basically the 122 but a parcels version of it. We can see here we've got some new bits and pieces here. We've got the MVP, which is, it's like telling us the weight in tons. It's just occurred to me that the private sign is actually, it's not even flush to the body side. You can see it's floating off of the body side there. That is, it's just, again, another, poor quality thing with this with this add-on. I mean, how this wasn't picked up in testing, I have no idea. Is it like that on every unit? It is. Okay, so it's on the left side. The right-hand side looks like it's pretty much flush. Yeah, it does. So the left-hand side decal on all of the bubble cars is floating off of the side. Yeah, so that is an issue there, isn't it? But yeah, anyway, so we're over to this livery, whatever the hell this is. So this is the sort of it's like a light green. Hang on a minute. Okay, so they've got the yellow warning panel correct on the class 132 parcels unit. The half yellow warning panel. But they've failed to do it on the on the main small yellow warning panel livery 122. How does that make any sense? So the one that people are mostly going to use, they've got the livery completely wrong. But the one that people are less likely to use, the yellow warning panel is correct. Just the logic on that just doesn't make sense to me. Also, what is the texturing? What is this? What the hell is that? It's just pure white. On the bear in mind, I don't think these are turned on. Yeah, so these lights aren't turned on. Okay, but they look nuclear in the means of texturing. What is going on there? Okay. I mean, to be fair, the models of the marker lights are not. Okay. Yeah, there's some shader issues. What the hell? Oh my god. Are you serious? Are you serious? What is this? £15, ladies and gents. £15 we're paying for this quality. And then you look at stuff like the Precision Locomotive development stuff, the Armstrong Powerhouse enhancement packs and stuff like that. And, you see the quality on those, and then you see this for near enough the same price, and we're just getting whatever the hell this is. I'm really, really sorry, DT, but you guys are stooping really low with your content. I can't. How can you charge 15 quid for this? It's actually thieving. Like, it really is. I mean, this is stooping so low that this is almost IHH standards. It's going back to Iron Horse House with some of the crap that they used to release. I mean, it is just, oh my god. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I just can't. I'm gobsmacked. Oh my god. How can you get away with that? Oh my days. Ooh. Okay, so I just can't. Let me just control myself. Okay, so that's the whatever the hell this livery is. I've never seen it before. We've got sort of a more blacker roof on this, so it's sort of weathered down. Which again, that's not terrible. I'm loving the weathering on that. Oh, this is nice. We've got the exhaust pigment there. We've got exhaust on there, so they've done some stuff here, which is giving it some plus points, even though there isn't many plus points. And if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, I think I was more impressed with the LMS 10,000 than I was with this, and that was average. I rated that as average. This isn't average. Okay, this just isn't average. This isn't anywhere near average. Okay. So we're going to head over to the Parcels BR Blue livery version. So we've got the Parcels Traffic Only blue version here. I have actually placed this down as well, so we can have a little look in the interior and stuff when we drive one of the things. But you can see here we've got obviously all the parcels in there, and all the seats are ripped up, and we've got like a metal mesh over the windows there, so you can tell this is obviously used for parcels now, which is interesting. It's a different version that we've never had before. We haven't had a parcels version of the original Dovetail games. It was the Dovetail games, wasn't it? The Dovetail games 121 bubble car, which is actually better than this. I'm going to be honest. But yeah, we didn't have a parcels unit for the Dovetail Games Class 121 bubble car, but it's nice to have this. I suppose what you could do is you could add some of the Armstrong Powerhouse sounds and bits and pieces to these, although I don't think it would be personally worth it. But obviously, this is the only 122 that we have currently in Train Simulator Classic, and if you like your 122s, then perhaps somebody within the Train Sim community will add a sound mod so you can have the AP sounds implemented to these. Which would be interesting, I suppose. Maybe it will shine a bit of light on the model, or even though I personally think it won't, but maybe it will shine a little bit more light on it. Let's say that, a little bit more light on it. Okay, so we've had a look at the 132s in the parcels livery. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the oddball livery with the pack, which is the regional railways livery. So we've got all of these classic heritage BR green, BR blue liveries, and then you've just got this, which is obviously a 1980s, take on the Class 122. But we don't really have any other liveries. We don't have any Network Southeast, although I'm not sure whether these carried Network Southeast. I don't know a huge amount in the means of history on liveries for the Class 122. But yeah, so we have this regional railways livery, which is a bit of an oddball, really. This is interesting to say the least. I can briefly look up the Class 122 in regional railways livery, just to just to have a little look about how it looks. So yeah, so the 122 did carry regional railways, although it has just occurred to me that more often or not, when it did carry this livery, it had a high intensity headlight, which this model doesn't. So technically this is the wrong version and wrong variant for the regional railways livery. So that is very interesting to say the least. Why they've decided to do that, I don't know. They could have at least added the headlight, but so technically this version is wrong. Also, there was a load haul Class 122 as well, which they could have added to the pack, which they haven't done. So there is some liveries that they could have added which they haven't, but and also variants as well, because we don't actually have the variant with the 2-character headco box at the front as well. So we've got a lack of variants. We've just got this one variant of 122 in the pack, which it's a shame, because it would have been nice to have the high intensity headlight and 2-character headco box included with it. So I don't know. Again, the font is just wrong. We've got 12210A for some reason on the front there, which I don't know if that is how it should be on the regional rails 122. No, it's not meant to be like that. It's not meant to be like that at all. It should have 122 100, or because I'm guessing that's what they've based it on, 122 100. So that's wrong. I don't know why the A is there. That's inaccurate. We also have a lack of warning flash on the cab. The private sign on the cab side I don't even think should be there, because it's not on the actual photos of it. Yeah, so this is actually wrong. And I don't think the number is supposed to be there either. No, it's not. It's supposed to be in the white. So again, what they've done here, I can clearly see what they've done. They've literally just taken the numbers from the green version and just plastered it on here and reskinned it. And even that's wrong, because it's got an A on it and doesn't have a proper number. Okay, yeah, so that livery's wrong. That variant is wrong as well. Okay, so let's head over to actually looking at driving the thing. This is going to be brilliant, isn't it? So we'll just unpause our game, and then we'll have a listen to the really poorly implemented sounds. So we'll start off with this, actually, yeah, the green. Let's have a look inside the green one. Okay, so this is the cab. There's a lot of things in this cab that really do resemble an IHH model. Like, there is... What the f***? Why is that angled down like that? That should not be like that. That should just be a square. That should be a square panel there, with all of them buttons on there. I will double check this just to be sure though, because it's a 122, so class 122 cab could be different, Okay, so it is angled like that, but it's not that thin. It's just too thin, and as I say, that is probably due to the fact that because it's bending round in places it shouldn't be. So if it was like flat on the front, it just it would be right and wouldn't look as bad. Okay, yeah, so we can change the destinations. So we've got Falmouth now, and if we obviously change it back, yep, we've got Fowey. Okay, so that's quite good that you can change the destinations. Fair play. I can't see from the inside what. Yeah, you can't really. You just kind of got to wing it and hope for the best. We've got Paddington there, so you can't really. It doesn't tell us what it's saying on the front. You just got to kind of. Okay, that's not in service now. Fowey. Okay, yeah, so it's very random. Texturing in the cab is not great, is it? I mean, the sounds are awful. I mean, you can hear the looping, it just cuts out in the idle. Yeah, it's really badly looped, that idle sound. We've got some flickering on the gauges there. That's probably could be due to the TS lighting. We do have instrument lights which do work. Cab lights don't seem to work on L, so I don't know how to turn the cab lighting on. Yeah, so that's interesting. We can only turn a certain amount of degrees within this cab. We can't like move over to look behind us, which I suppose is okay because you don't really do that in a DMU cab very often. Got the AWS reset. I mean, the texturing on some of these controls aren't too bad. I'm liking obviously the scuff marks. I mean, the modelling on the controls could be better, but the scuff marks is quite nice. It's good to have them there. Headlights. So we've got the headlights on now. Although it's put tail lights on for some reason. There we go. There's our headlights. Yeah, which is just basically just a glare coming out of the current texture. There's no actual lens like turned on texture. It's just the same texture, just with flares added when you turn it on. Okay. We've got 2 cab views, so we can move over to the second man side as well. You see, yeah, the doors again, they're not the best. You know, this isn't the best, really, is it? There's not much in the means of clickable in here, really. You've got, I suppose, desk lights. Route indicator lights, okay. Don't know where the cab lighting is in here. You've got your buzzer code there, which is, to be fair, the texture's not bad on that. Looks quite good. Windscreen wipers. Okay, we've got windscreen wipers that don't work. Brilliant. That's brilliant. So if you wanted to drive this in the rain, then you're basically screwed in that department. Got the moquette on the seat, which is just sort of, you know, textured on, which just doesn't look right. The texturing is just not great, you know. We'll head into the passenger view now. Have a look in there. Okay, so we're sort of standing right now. So if we just move around, oh no, we don't have any views to move around. Okay, so in the passenger view, we're just permanently standing up. We can't sit down. We're just in a standing position in front of a chair. So, yeah, this is all you're getting. So, yeah, very basic. Do the doors open? Yeah, okay. And that passenger's on or off. We've got people inside the passenger compartment. New people models, actually, they're not too bad. I mean, to be fair, the quality on these people models are actually better than the quality of the model, the main model itself, in some regards. We've still got the really weird looking driver who looks like he's from an animated series. Okay. So the quality of the driver is worse than the quality of the people in the passenger compartment, which is unusual considering the driver is probably the most important bit. Okay, so now I've had a look at the interior of the main Class 122. Let's have a look at the... Actually, is there any difference in interior and the blue ones? No, it's all the same, and it's just recycled. We'll have a look at the Class 132. Okay, so the interior on this is basically the same as the green one. Does this have a passenger view? Okay, it does. That's taken us back to the trailer, but I can't move over to the parcels, so there's no passenger view for the parcels compartment, which is a shame, because it would have been nice to view actually inside here. So yeah, there's no passenger view for the actual parcels unit itself. But we do have the trailer here, which has a man in it, and there's a man in that end as well. Yeah, the trailer is basically just the 122 with a sliced off cab, in a sense. And you've just got like, yeah, just the end there. So obviously it's used for an extra carriage, so, you know, if you're operating the parcels one, you've got a passenger area. And again, opening and closing doors. I'm guessing these ones are locked out, and you just use the 2 side doors, which makes sense. But yeah, anyway, we're going to drive the Cat's Whisker variant of the 122. Just make sure our points are set. We've got a green. Good, good. Right, so we've got a horn, but it's not a 2-tone. If I'm correct in thinking that these are exactly the same sounds that have been recycled from the Great Western rail car, so yeah, there's just no different on that front at all. So we just have this basic, you know. I mean, it is loopable. I want to hear how good the loop is. Funny thing is, the horn is actually really well looped, and it just confuses me about how the horn is really well done, but yet the rest of the engine sounds are just really badly looped. Like, you know, you've got that idle sound, which is just, you can hear the cutting out of the engine, which is, you can hear the cut in the audio. You know, and then you've got edits like that, which are good. It's just bizarre. I'm gonna open the doors again, just so you know we might be able to hear a buzzer or something. Okay, there's no buzzer. So what is the command for the buzzer? Is it B? No. C? Right. So C does another horn, but it also does a buzzer at the same time. That's really weird. Okay, is that like a departure horn or something? I don't really understand what that's about. It's really weird. Okay, well, we'll put ourselves into forward gear. Release the brake. And we'll get moving. So we'll put ourselves into the first gear. Off we go. See, I don't just shove it straight into full on the throttle, you know, to get moving. So once we get to, there we go, we're in the orange zone, so we can now knock off the throttle, change gear. The gear is very slow actually. You have to hold down the E key to actually get it to change gears. Nice to hear that DT are still making do with the Kuju clatter. Where's the wobbly speedo? Oh. Doesn't seem to be wobbling, but I mean, it doesn't sound terrible on the revs. It sounds like a mixture of Kuju clatter and a change in tempo version of Kuju clatter. It's really bizarre in the means of rail joints. Okay, so the bogie is moving and the speedo isn't with the bogie, it's just moving on its... yeah, that's weird. So the speedo isn't moving with the bogie, it's almost like the speedo isn't attached to the bogie. Once again guys, this is 15 quid. 15 quid worth of content. In fact, the speedo isn't even attached to the Timken cap like it should be. So even the speedo's in the wrong position. Yeah, we've got no working wipers, so, you know, in a real life this would have failed. This would not be serviceable because the driver's wiper doesn't work, so you wouldn't be able to run this, technically. It just feels very IHH. It feels like a new IHH product. It's just not good. The sounds aren't good. The modelling isn't great. I mean, to be fair, with IHH, at least some of his modelling looked quite good. You know, this is just... But then again, the modelling on the LMS 10,000 by Digital Traction wasn't too bad. So, you know, it's... Right, we're coasting now, so we need to go into 4th gear, don't we? So we don't ruin anything. Why am I hearing steam sounds? I'm hearing like the sound of steam, like the echoes of steam from like when you're inside a steam loco cab and you can sort of hear that noise, you know, as I'm going along. That's just not the brake sound of a class 122, but you know, that's not the sound it makes. Shift E. Oh my god, this is so slow, this gear system. Oh, we actually... Okay, so... By the time we've let passengers aboard, you're still moving the gear stick down really slowly. That's very interesting, isn't it? You can't operate the gear with the mouse, but you can operate the throttle and the train brake, but yeah, you can't operate the gears with the mouse. Okay, so you have to use the keyboard no matter what you choose, so there you go. Right, let's do the weird departure horn and then buzzer thing. There we go. It's really weird, that. Oh my god, the transition in between gears is bad. We've actually got a red signal here. But we've got a white dolly, okay. So I'm just going to double check where we actually are and why we've got that red. There we go, we've got a green now, so the points were not set. Oh shit. Rolling. Oh my god. Why does it just slow down the tempo like that when we change gears? It should just cut out, you know? Yeah, I can seriously hear steam sounds over this. I feel like I've gone back in time and I'm driving something that was from like 2007, 2008. Oh, I'm slowing down. I need to go back a gear actually. If I can get it back a gear because it's so bloody slow. I mean, it drives okay, I suppose, in the means of braking. There we are. So in the means of how it drives, the braking wise, it's not too bad actually. The brake physics are actually quite good on this, so I'll give them credit for that. But I'm still standing by what I said at the beginning of the video. It is a overpriced, not very good DLC. It's just really, really bad. I cannot stress enough of how bad it really is. It just there's a lot of things wrong with it. They should not be charging 15 quid for this content. It should be more like $9.99 at a push. But for the quality of this 132, this is more worth something like 5 quid at most, $4.99, because it just, the features on it are just not up there to current day standards. The modelling is off, the sounds are not good, the texturing is pretty pants in a lot of areas. Yeah, it is just a really bad DLC pack. I cannot, that's just how it is. That's, and this is obviously coming from my views and opinions on it. This is obviously me, Samuel Beamon of BLS, saying his bit on the product. Others may think differently. I advise somebody else to have a look at this and review it and see what you think, because I'll be really interested in your opinions on this pack. But as it stands with how Digital Traction are doing as a company at the minute, they are more on a downhill spiral than an uphill. You know, this is. I admire them for attempting to give us heritage diesel content for Train Simulator Classic, but even the LMS 10,000 was better than this, and that was average at most. You know, it had its issues. You know, I had the sanding problem, which I showed you on screen. You know, it had bugs, and you know, the sounds were okay, but they weren't the best. You know, the recycled 37 sounds were just not the best. It's yeah. This content is not worth 15 quid. Until you can make content to justify the price, by all means, make your content 15 quid. But as it stands at the moment, it is just not worth that. You know, knock 5 quid off your products, DT. You know, or, you know, at the very least, just knock £5 off. Because it's not worth £15. This content is not worth 15 quid. It is... I cannot stress enough, it is dreadful. It is dreadful. I'm sorry, but it is. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this review. I know it's been incredibly critical, which is a shame. I was expecting more from this pack. I was expecting it to be, you know, hopefully really, really good. But it just wasn't, and you know, it's just not good. I think, you know, it's got to that point where, you know, I've done a load of positive reviews. There is always going to be that one critical review, and that is unfortunately this one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I hope it's been informative to you guys. Do I recommend buying this? No, I don't actually. Not unless they reduce the price, or if it's in a sale, because it's not worth justifying. It's not worth. Yeah, it's not worth 15 quid. So there we have it, folks. This has been Sam with Beamon of British Locomotive Studios, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye for now.